I'm Tim DeRoche, the author of A Fine Line: How Most American Kids Are Kept Out of the Best Public Schools. I want to talk through this big question that I discuss in my piece at educationnext.org. This is the question of whether many public school attendance zones are in violation of federal civil rights law. Specifically, I want to talk about this long-forgotten law that was passed in 1974 called the Equal Educational Opportunities Act. This is a law that was passed by a Democratic Congress and signed by a Republican president. This is a law that says a school district cannot assign a minority child to a public school that is not the closest to their residence if that assignment will worsen segregation. I don't think the full implications of that language have been understood. Let's look at how this might play out right now at one particular school in one American city. Here is the attendance zone for Mount Washington Elementary School, the most coveted school in my family's neighborhood of Northeast Los Angeles. Mount Washington serves a largely affluent population of families, many of whom paid a premium, say $200,000 or more, just to buy a home within the boundaries of this zone and gain access to this quote-unquote free public school. Mount Washington is surrounded by schools that mainly serve lower-income families, many of them immigrants and minorities. None of the surrounding schools have more than 9% white students, but Mount Washington students are almost 60% white. Each of these surrounding schools has its own attendance zone, but none of these other schools are operating at capacity. Only Mount Washington Elementary is full because it's so coveted, so only at Mount Washington Elementary is the attendance zone used to keep out students who live outside the zone boundaries. Kids within the zone are assigned to a school with 75% reading proficiency. At one neighboring school, only 16% of the students are proficient in reading. At another, only 28%. In fact, only one of the surrounding schools has more than half of the students proficient in reading. But you may already see what the problem is. The attendance zone for Mount Washington is this weird, misshapen thing. So there are several pockets that appear to violate this civil rights law, the Equal Educational Opportunities Act. I'll call it the EEOA. Here are the areas in which Mount Washington Elementary is the closest public school, but the families living there are assigned to other, more distant schools. Because Mount Washington has such a higher concentration of white students, the district is exacerbating segregation by sending minority kids who live in these areas to any of the surrounding schools. That is precisely what is illegal under the EEOA. Any minority family living in these shaded areas has a right to sue the Los Angeles Unified School District in federal court for an equal opportunity for their kids to enroll at Mount Washington Elementary. You could do the same analysis for any number of elite public elementary schools in American cities. All of these attendance zones, to a greater or lesser degree, appear to violate the EEOA. Brooklyn, Dallas, Seattle, San Diego, Philadelphia, Columbus, Oakland, Atlanta, and many, many more. If you want to know more about this issue, please check out my piece at educationnext.org, and there's much more in my book, A Fine Line: How Most American Kids Are Kept Out of the Best Public Schools.